All right, let's kick off another one for you. This one is going to house 6 8-inch American Bass VFL subs, dual forearm, ported enclosure. We're going to work with 3/4 inch MDF, as always, inch and 5/8 coarse wood screws, 100% glue coverage, and these sliding adjustable clamps. And my procedure for all these is, again, you could basically narrate it yourself if you wanted to. The steps are the same, procedures are the same. But this is for a return customer of mine. These aren't brand new subs. He had them in a previous enclosure that I helped him design, and he played it for a while, but the box started to mess. I think it's ports. He had 4 PVC ports in there. They started coming loose and this, that, and the other. So he said, forget it. Took them out of the box and shipped the subs to me and said he wanted me to do it. I had total creativity on this one. He didn't tell me what he wanted, how he wanted it. He just wanted us to build it. That was it. So here we go. I think now I'm going to assemble the port. Yeah, I think I'm working on the port here. Getting it assembled outside of the box. Like I said, it'll be a slot port toward the bottom of the box. And like I said, it's based on location, how the subs are laid out, how I want the port location, where I want it, and so forth, just to make it flow. I'm all about being symmetrical. I like my stuff to look good. Just double checking my center. Once I get it assembled, checking both sides, making sure it's true, then I'll outline it. And we all know exactly where to put the screw placement and so forth. Yep, there it is. Got it outlined. Wood thickness. I'll go ahead and put a small round over on the inside lip. Double checking. That's what I'm doing. My outlining for the bottom of the port there. That's what that was. Mix up a little bit of wood filler on that back wall. Some roughed up areas, some screws and such. You can see I'm outlining where you can actually see, and I'm in the front of the box visualizing how much of the port I need to paint. That's why it's masked off like that. Only paint what you can see. And just do some primer, some yellow. I can't remember the name of the paint, but I try to get something close enough to what the Subwoofer cone color was. And I got a couple of matte pencils, took it up to the, I think Lowe's, kind of matched as close as I could. Got a couple of different shades. Now I'm marking out for my sub locations. Hit the pivot point with a nail. I can drill straight through some. All right, I'm showing you the matte pencil there. Try to get something close enough to it. All right, everything painted up and ready. I can go ahead and get ready to install it. And I pre-drilled. I'm showing you there with them arrows, pre-drilled from the inside out, so there's no guessing. Add that glue in and secure it in place. This box is going to get wrapped, so I'm just running my screws in flush, not countersinking them or anything like that. That piece of scrap in there because I had a small bow in the middle, and I'll remove that later just to hold everything straight once I add the top piece on. Double check on my subwoofer cutouts. Always do that before you turn that router bit on, or turn your router on. Do a dry scrape, make sure everything is true, and then start cutting. And once I cut all that out, then I remove that scrap piece I had in there. Now I'm double checking my flush cuts now for the outside diameter. You can see that test scrape, you can see it around there. That's what I'm doing, double checking it before I actually start cutting. Once it's cut, it's cut. Use some nails to secure the center pieces in place, so it don't spin on me. Roughed out the port open, staying away from the edges. Don't have to get too close because I'm gonna hit it with that flush trim bit. And then sanding down, had some glue, roughed edges and things of that nature, but it just takes time. You got to work with it. Do a little light sanding. It may take a lot of heavy sanding, I don't know. Smear a little thin layer of glue on there, seal it all up. Gotta stop that paint from absorbing in. Use that 1.25 inch wooden dowel. I'm gonna add some bracing in that port area and inside the box. So that was another shade of paint. I used it as the primer base before I added the other actual color onto it. Locating my bracing for the box as well. Leveling it up, making sure it's straight. Run a nail in through the top part level up the bottom. Once you get it straight, then take your pencil and outline the bottom, and now you know where to drill that hole in. So when you put your dowel piece back in there, everything will line right back up. Always pre-drill your holes. Yep. There's that nail. Just make sure everything is lined up. Now that's coming through the port area. Just showing you that because I'm going to have to fill that in, but it's toward the back, so you really won't see it. So I'm going to use that bit there so I can countersink the screw. Tuck it in there, and it won't be seen. Like I said, it's way in the back. And there's that final coat of the actual paint that I was using to match. Just lining that one up as well with that nail. I put two in there. I forgot about that. I had one in the front as well. Yeah, this video has been on here for a while. I'm backed up on my editing, so I apologize if I miss some steps or forget something. Add that glue coverage for this flush baffle. Clamped it in place, added some screws, and then hit it with a little round over. That round over takes it to another, it gives it a different look. I love that. Get some 1/4-inch hardboard here. Don't pay no attention to the drawing, that was from a previous build. But this is going to be on the front, on the baffle, on the front side, not the baffle side, but the port side. Clamped it into place, and then took my flush trim and routed it out. Then jigsaw, got the port roughed out, flushed. Now I'm working on the design area where I'm going to have the plexi and the decal is going to be located. Use some scrap pieces from previous cutout builds. Got the look I wanted, and I'm missing pencil. Don't pay attention to the dark line. Like I said, that's from a previous build. Got some 2-sided tape, some scrap pieces, and pressed them in, and then run them along my flush trim bit. And then on the outside edges, you do that by hand, or we cut that out by hand with the jigsaw. Just take your time and put it back on the router bit, put the rabbit bit on it, put that rabbit on there, that rabbit cut on there, so we have a place to tuck the fabric. Some final touches. I'm still messing with it, if I can do some sanding, do a little sanding, but hitting coats in between as I'm doing other things. You can always come back to that. All that overspray you won't be seen anyway once you put that hardboard over it. Mark my area for the subwoofer terminal cutouts. Just going to do one on this one because I'm going to wire them all together. Make sure everything is squared straight before I pre-drill those holes. Put that edge on there so I have a place to tuck my carpet or my fabric later. That's what that's for. Using that Dremel tool. Get that plexi acrylic. It's not really plexiglass, acrylic. 0.080 thickness, I believe. Trace it out with the marker. Set it in it and cut it down on my table saw. I'm ready to add some fabric to the back part, so I taped off to prevent overspray on my port. Add the yellow background fabric. I'll trace it out. Remove all the extra that I don't need. And make that decal really pop. I'll remove the back side of the acrylic, the protective film, because that's what's going to be pressed up against the fabric. And I'll leave the outer side on to the very end, just so I don't get any scratching. Add a little bit of glue. On that thin edge down there, you see I'm just using thin nails with the glue, hold it in place. Can't get no screws in there because the head's too wide on it. All right, I'll go ahead and add some of this black fabric. Same style, same stuff I use all the time, Hobby Lobby. I get it from Hobby Lobby. All my fabric that I get on here, 9 times out of 10 comes from Hobby Lobby. Same style. 2-part contact glue, spray in the back of the fabric and the surface. Let it sit up for about 60 seconds, maybe 2 minutes. So it's tacky to the touch. But you don't want it to come off on your finger, because it's going to adhere to itself. Get too sticky, too tacky, may bleed through that fabric. You don't want that. Always protecting your finished areas with overspray. That's why we keep tons of newspaper around. Trimmed everything in, hit those edges, roll it around, rub it, and use the tucking tool. Tuck it right in that groove. I'm showing you how once it's tucked in, just get your blade and just run it. Make sure it's a sharp blade. trimming away from the edge you're tucking. Don't put your blade up against it. So you want to kind of have it at an angle away from it, of the piece you're cutting. And that's the finish you'll get just about every time. But you got to have a sharp blade. Blades are cheap, so we run through those. Take a good clean edge. No more fighting seams, trying to match them. The majority of these edges you won't be seeing anyway. Once it's put off in the trunk or the SUV, it's going to be forgotten about. So, nice and clean. Get ready to start on the front side, the port side, I believe now. Like I said, that 2-part spray adhesive. Passed off the port, finished fabric. A little tucking tube right there. You can't get that at Harbor Freight. Some staples on the bottom just to prevent lifting over time, box sliding around, moving it in and out of vehicles. So an added insurance you don't have to worry about. 1/4-inch staples. Roughed out around that acrylic area and trim and tucked it as well, just like I did the port. Double checking the subs. Like I said, they're used. He's used them in previous videos. We'll make sure everything is true and up to par. Go ahead and setting them in and lining them out to pre-drill my holes. I don't ever drill mine straight up and down. That's what I'm showing you. Just do a slight tilt inward into the material because it gets thicker as it goes down if you drill it that way. Showing you how we're going to wire them up. A lot of little pieces. Wire was too thick to go between, because these aren't terminals, they're direct leads. This is why I don't like direct leads. I like push terminals in mine, just for this reason. I'm just showing you I marked them to a little one, because there were so many subs. The way I'm sure that they went back into the same hole that was cut out for it. That's all that was. Updated the terminal cup. Yep, use wire nuts on it. Twist them together, secure it with some electrical tape. Make sure nothing comes loose, nothing rubs against nothing. I just walked around each one, started from the end and linked them all together. I think this one's, I got to put these out of place. These should have been before I started putting them in. Just an overview of the sub. Once I got them all in, wired them, I think it was supposed to be 1.3, wasn't it? Like a 1.6. Double checking my holes, lining them back in that I already previously drilled. Ran them in with the clutch turned all the way up and then final tighten them on down by hand just to prevent stripping them out. I'll go ahead and remove the outer protective coating off that acrylic. That's why it's important to leave it on to the very end where you ensure that your outside edges don't have any scratches. Put it in pieces, just so it doesn't wrinkle or kink or be down at a slope. So I always cut them in half, do them half, peel half the back off, do one side, and then do the other. Rub it in place and then remove the outer protective coating. Yeah, it's really popping. I like that, with that yellow background. This is the second American-based box I've done like this, theme build, I'll call it. He wanted the other one that I built after I sold it, so I went ahead and, gave him his own. That's why I went with this design, for that very reason. Just a smaller version of it. And that's it. Another one for the books, American-based 6/8 VFLs, and a slot-ported enclosure, complete with decal. Ready to roll. I think he's supposed to come pick this one up. I'm not for sure. The last one we shipped, I think he said they're gonna make a road trip and come grab this one, him and his brother. They may drop off another vehicle. I mean, we've been talking about all kind of stuff. I think his brother has a truck they're gonna come down in. I've got to look at, so. But yeah, this one turned out really nice. I love it when they give me total creative control over it. You know, I can let my mind go and just kind of do what I feel, what I would like to see out there. And it might not always be right. You know, people, you shouldn't have done that, you should have did this. I mean, but in the end of the day, it's not your box. I mean, we're going to call it like it is. I'll build yours, and I'll build it how you want to build it. But love the way this one came down. Thanks for watching as always. Stay tuned for the next one.